One of the questions which Jesus asked his followers halfway through Mark's account of his public career is, "Who do people say that I am?" And his followers came up with various answers. They say, "You're a prophet, like one of the prophets of old, like Elijah perhaps, or Jeremiah." And Jesus says, "But who do you say that I am?" And Peter says, "You are the Messiah." And Jesus seems to accept that, but tells them not to say anything about that, to keep that quiet, at least for the moment. And that becomes a major theme as we move on towards the account of the crucifixion. But it is as though, as we read the stories in the Gospels, there is layer upon layer upon layer of meaning in terms of Jesus' own understanding of his vocation within the purposes of the one who he addressed as Abba, Father. Yes, he was a prophet. He speaks of John the Baptist as more than a prophet and of himself as more than John the Baptist. But he is certainly a prophet and talks about himself in that way. And yes, also, Jesus does seem to have embraced the messianic vocation which comes out of the Psalms and Isaiah, but he doesn't think he's going to be the sort of Messiah that many other Jews of his day thought would be coming. But within all that, there are other strands as well. There is the priestly strand, that Jesus somehow, when he goes to the temple, seems to be taking charge. And it seems to be through his work, rather than through the high priest's work, that things happen. People get healed. Somehow the temple is to be destroyed and rebuilt. So all of these things are complicated and puzzles for us as they were at the time. But underneath that again, there is a richer and deeper answer still. In Jesus' day, some Jews, the way that they read the scriptures that they had, believed that their God would one day come back in power to rule, to reign, to rescue his people. We find that in Isaiah 40, Isaiah 52, we find it in Malachi, we find it in Zechariah. And it looks as though Jesus was saying, in effect, by what he did as much as by what he actually said, that this is what it looks like when Israel's God returns to Jerusalem at last. It won't be in a blaze of glory. It won't be like the pillar of cloud and fire in the wilderness. What it will look like will be a young prophet riding on a donkey in tears and announcing that God is becoming king at last and going off to take the weight of the world's evil upon himself. Now that would sound crazy. That would just sound delusional, unless something happened fairly shortly after that, which made people say, "Oh my goodness, suppose after all it actually was true. Suppose after all this is what it would look like when God came back in person."